You think you could survive the Middle Ages. You've watched the movies. You've played the video games. You've read the fantasy novels where knights are noble and maidens are fair, and everyone speaks in carefully constructed Old English that sounds profound and romantic. But here's the thing you haven't considered. It's not the lack of plumbing that would break you. It's not even the disease, or the violence, or the stench that medieval chroniclers described as so overwhelming that visitors to London could smell the city from miles away. It's something far more subtle, something that lives in the space between your modern mind and a world that operated on completely different psychological principles. The real question isn't whether you could survive a day in medieval times. The question is, would you even recognize yourself by the end of it? Let's start with morning. You open your eyes, except you don't. Not really. Because the concept of opening your eyes to start your day is itself a modern invention, a product of artificial lighting and alarm clocks, and the idea that time is something you can measure and control. In medieval times, you don't wake up. You emerge from a sleep pattern so fundamentally different from what you know that neuroscientists who study historical sleep patterns call it segmented sleep or biphasic sleep. And this isn't some quirky historical footnote. This is a complete rewiring of how your brain processes rest, consciousness, and the very boundary between waking and sleeping. Here's what really happened. You'd sleep for 4 hours, then you'd wake up naturally around midnight. And this wasn't insomnia. This wasn't a sleep disorder. This was normal, expected, built into the very fabric of medieval life. And what did people do during this midnight waking period? They prayed, they talked, they reflected, they made love, they visited neighbors. Medieval court records are filled with testimonies that begin with phrases like an hour after, first sleep, or between sleeps. There was even a special term for it in Middle English, dorveil, the state between sleeping and waking. The psychology behind this runs deeper than you might think. Modern sleep research by historians like Roger Kirch at Virginia Tech has revealed that segmented sleep wasn't just a practical adaptation to darkness, it was a fundamentally different relationship with consciousness itself. That period between first and second sleep, it was characterized by what Kirch calls an altered state of consciousness, where the boundaries between dreams and waking thought became permeable. People reported heightened creativity during this time, profound insights, a sense of connection to something larger than themselves. But here's where it gets complex. You can't just decide to adopt segmented sleep. Your brain has been trained by decades of artificial light, by the 8-hour sleep mythology, by the very structure of modern life to resist this pattern. Sleep scientists have tried to recreate medieval sleep conditions in laboratory settings, removing all artificial light and allowing participants to sleep naturally. It takes weeks for segmented sleep to emerge. Weeks of your brain fighting against patterns it thinks are normal, struggling against rhythms it believes are natural, resisting a return to something that was once as fundamental to human experience as breathing. So, you open your eyes in a medieval dwelling. Except, you don't open them all at once. You drift. You emerge. You exist in that space between dreams and waking that medieval people understood as a distinct state of consciousness, one that modern life has trained you to fear as insomnia or disorder. Already, something in you is different. Already, the person you were is beginning to fracture. You lie there in the darkness. And this is where the first real shock hits you, the silence. Except, it's not silence. Not really. Because silence in the modern world and silence in the medieval world are two completely different sensory experiences, two different relationships with the absence of sound. Modern silence is emptiness. It's the absence of mechanical noise, the void left when you turn off your phone and close your laptop and shut out the constant hum of electricity and engines and the low-grade audio pollution that neuroscientists now recognize as a chronic stressor on the human nervous system. Medieval silence is presence. It's alive. It breathes. You hear everything, and I mean everything. The sound of your own heartbeat becomes something you can't unhear. Your breathing is loud, almost violent in the darkness. You can hear the family sleeping in the same room because that's where everyone sleeps, privacy being another modern invention we take for granted. You hear the rats in the walls, and before you recoil at that thought, understand that rats weren't pests to be exterminated. They were part of the ecology of medieval life, accepted, expected, as normal as the sound of traffic is to you now. You hear them moving through the thatch of the roof above you. You hear them scratching in the walls. You hear them going about their rat business with an intimacy that would horrify your modern sensibilities. You hear the animals below. Because if you're part of the 90% of the medieval population that lived in the countryside, your home isn't separate from your livestock. There's no barn. There's just the lower level of your dwelling where the cattle and pigs and chickens live, their body heat rising to warm the upper level where you sleep. Their sounds and smells an inescapable part of your existence. The cow shifts its weight. You hear it. The pig roots in its bedding. You hear it. A chicken makes a soft clucking sound in its sleep. You hear it. And here's what's really happening. Your nervous system is being overwhelmed by sensory input it hasn't been trained to process. Modern life has taught you to tune out the mechanical, to filter out the constant hum of civilization, but your brain doesn't have filters for this kind of natural, biological, intimate soundscape. Studies on auditory processing show that the human brain can adapt to filter out consistent mechanical noise within a few days. Traffic becomes background noise. The hum of an air conditioner disappears. But natural sounds, organic sounds, the sounds of living things, your brain is hardwired to pay attention to those. They signal potential threats, potential food sources, potential changes in your environment that require immediate attention. You're lying in the dark, and your nervous system is on high alert, processing every sound, every movement, every shift in the living, breathing soundscape around you. Your cortisol levels are rising. Your heart rate is elevated. Your modern brain is interpreting this as stress, as danger, as something wrong. But to a medieval person, this is home. This is safety. This is normal. The gap between your psychology and medieval psychology is already starting to widen. You're experiencing the same sensory input, but your brain is telling you a completely different story about what it means. And then there's the smell. Oh, the smell. You've read about medieval hygiene. You know intellectually that bathing was rare, that people lived in close quarters with animals, that there was no sewage system, no garbage collection, no understanding of bacteria or the germ theory of disease. But knowing something intellectually and experiencing it viscerally are two completely different neurological processes. And your olfactory system, that most primitive part of your brain that connects directly to your limbic system and your emotional processing centers, is about to stage a full-scale revolt. The first smell you notice is the people. Human bodies that haven't bathed in weeks, maybe months. sweat and skin oils, and the particular funk of unwashed humanity sleeping in close quarters. But here's the thing. It's not just dirty. It's layered, complex, because people didn't just not bathe. They had entire cosmetic systems built around masking and managing body odor. Herbs, perfumes made from plants and flowers, crushed lavender sewn into sachets and tucked into clothing, rose water splashed on skin and hair. Medieval people weren't ignorant of smell. They just had different standards, different thresholds, different neural adaptations to sense that would make you gag. And underneath that human smell is the animal smell. Manure and wet fur and the particular musk of livestock living indoors. It seeps into everything. The walls, the floor, your clothes, your hair, your skin. There's no escaping it because it's not a smell to escape from. It's the smell of survival, of food, of the animals that will keep you alive through the winter. Then there's the smoke, because if it's winter, there's a fire. And medieval chimneys, when they existed at all, were crude affairs that didn't draw well. So smoke fills the dwelling, hangs in the rafters, stings your eyes, coats your lungs with every breath. And this isn't occasional. This isn't a bad day. This is every day, all day, for your entire life. Studies on sensory adaptation show that humans can adjust to almost any smell given enough time. Olfactory neurons literally stop firing after prolonged exposure to consistent odors. This is why you don't smell your own house, your own clothes, your own body. Your brain has edited these smells out of your conscious experience. But that adaptation takes time, days, weeks, and during that adaptation period, your body is in distress. Nausea, headaches, a constant low-grade disgust that triggers your gag reflex and makes your stomach churn. You're lying in the dark, surrounded by sounds your brain can't filter and smells your body is actively rejecting, and you haven't even gotten out of bed yet. The person you were an hour ago is already unreachable, already a memory, because that person existed in a sensory environment so different from this one that they might as well have lived on another planet. Eventually, dawn comes, and with it, light. But not the light you know, not the flick of a switch, the glow of a screen, the steady, reliable illumination that makes modern life possible. This is something else entirely. Something that will fundamentally alter your relationship with time, with productivity, with the very structure of your day. If you're wealthy enough to have windows, they're not glass. Glass is rare, expensive, a luxury reserved for churches and the homes of the very rich. Your windows are oiled cloth or thin slices of horn, or, if you're particularly well off, small panes of blown glass, so thick and uneven that they barely transmit light at all. So, the dawn doesn't arrive, it seeps. It creeps into your space like a slow tide, taking minutes, even hours, to transform darkness into something resembling visibility. And this gradual transition isn't just inconvenient. It's a completely different neurological experience of time itself. Modern light is instant. You flip a switch, and your environment transforms from night to day in a fraction of a second. Your brain has learned to understand time as something that can be punctuated, divided, controlled. You have appointments at specific minutes, deadlines measured in hours, a relationship with time that's precise, digital, divorced from natural rhythms. Medieval light teaches a different lesson. Time is fluid, elastic. The line between night and day isn't a moment, but a process. And this process rewires how your brain understands causality, sequence, the very structure of cause and effect. Circadian rhythm research shows that humans are exquisitely sensitive to light as a time cue. Your suprachiasmatic nucleus, that tiny cluster of neurons in your hypothalamus that serves as your biological clock, uses light to synchronize your entire physiology, but it evolved to respond to gradual, natural light transitions, not the instant on-off of electric lighting. When you experience medieval dawn, something in your brain relaxes. Your cortisol awakening response, that surge of stress hormones that helps you wake up in the modern world, doesn't spike as sharply. Your melatonin decreases gradually rather than being suppressed suddenly. Your body eases into wakefulness rather than being jolted into it. And here's where it gets fascinating. You're not more relaxed. You're differently conscious. Your relationship with the present moment changes when time stops being something you can measure precisely and starts being something you feel, sense, intuit from the quality of light and the sounds of the world waking around you. You stand up, or rather, you unfold yourself from whatever pile of straw and wool and linen you've been sleeping on. Because beds as you know them don't exist for most people. Beds are furniture, and furniture is wealth. Most people sleep on the floor, on pallets that get put away during the day, in spaces that serve multiple purposes because space itself is a precious commodity. Your back hurts. Your neck is stiff. Your body is already protesting this new reality, these unfamiliar sleeping conditions that evolution hasn't prepared you for because your ancestors slept exactly like this for thousands of years. But you've spent your entire life on mattresses engineered for spinal support and pressure point relief. You move toward the door, toward whatever this day will bring, and you're already exhausted, already overwhelmed, already wondering if you can do this. And the day hasn't even started yet. You need food, your stomach is growling, your blood sugar is low. Your modern metabolism, trained on regular meals and constant snacking, and the assumption that food is always available, is sending urgent signals to your brain that it's time to eat. But here's the truth. Breakfast isn't a meal in medieval times. Not really. Not the way you understand meals. The word breakfast literally means breaking the fast. But in medieval culture, eating early in the morning was often considered a sign of gluttony, a moral failing, a weakness of character. The religious calendar that structured medieval life included frequent fast days where eating before noon was forbidden. Even on regular days, the first substantial meal came later, often not until mid-morning or even afternoon. If you eat anything at all when you first wake up, it's simple, crude, whatever's left from yesterday. Bread, cheese, maybe some ale, because water isn't safe to drink unless it's been boiled or fermented, and small beer is the standard morning beverage for everyone, including children. And that bread is nothing like what you know. Modern bread is engineered, soft, consistent, made from refined flour that's been stripped of most of its nutrients and then fortified with vitamins. Medieval bread is coarse, dense, filled with grit and chaff and the occasional bit of stone from the grinding wheel. It's dark, heavy. It fills your stomach not with comfort, but with bulk, with fiber, with the kind of rough sustenance that keeps peasants working in fields for 12 hours. You bite into it, and your modern teeth, accustomed to processed food and regular dental care, encounter resistance. Medieval bread is work. Chewing it is a workout for your jaw, and you notice, perhaps for the first time, that medieval people don't have the teeth you do. Tooth decay is rampant, not because of sugar, which is rare and expensive, but because of the abrasive nature of the food itself. Stone particles in flour wear down enamel. Grit in bread creates microscopic cracks. Medieval skulls show teeth worn down to nubs by the age of 30. Abscesses, jaw infections, a lifetime of chronic low-grade oral pain that never goes away, because dentistry means extraction if you're lucky, and nothing if you're not. You touch your own teeth with your tongue, smooth, intact, maintained by a lifetime of modern dentistry that medieval people couldn't even imagine. And you realize, maybe for the first time, that your body is a product of your time as much as your mind is, that everything about you, from your teeth to your gut microbiome to your immune system, has been shaped by modern life in ways you never considered. The cheese is strong, unpasteurized, alive with bacteria that would be considered dangerous in modern food safety standards, but that medieval guts have adapted to handle. Your stomach churns. Your immune system, trained on sterile food and antibiotics, and the hygiene hypothesis that suggests modern cleanliness has made us more vulnerable to allergens and autoimmune disorders, doesn't know how to process this. And the ale. Oh, the ale. It's not the beer you know. It's thin, weakly alcoholic, slightly sour from wild fermentation. It's safe to drink because the alcohol and fermentation process kill bacteria, but it's also constant. Medieval people drink ale all day, every day, from childhood onward, a gallon or more per day for adults. Not to get drunk, but to stay hydrated, to consume calories, to survive. You drink it, and your modern liver, accustomed to occasional alcohol consumption and then long periods of abstinence, starts working overtime. Your metabolism shifts. Your brain chemistry changes. By midday, you'll have consumed enough alcohol that in modern times you'd be legally impaired. But here, it's just normal. Baseline. The way everyone feels all the time. And this is where the psychology gets really interesting. Because you're not just eating different food. You're literally changing your brain chemistry, your gut bacteria, your hormonal balance. You're becoming, on a biological level, a different person. You need to get dressed. And this is where you encounter another reality that modern life has shielded you from. The sheer physicality of existence before modern fabrics and manufacturing. Your clothes are wool, almost certainly wool unless you're wealthy enough for linen undergarments or poor enough that you're making do with whatever scraps and hand-me-downs you can cobble together. And medieval wool isn't the soft merino you know from modern sweaters. It's coarse, scratchy, oily with lanolin that's been left in to make it water-resistant. You pull it on, and it's heavy. Surprisingly heavy. A medieval woolen tunic can weigh several pounds, and that's just the first layer. If it's winter, you're adding more. Layers upon layers, because medieval heating is localized to wherever the fire is, and the moment you step away from it, you're cold. Bone-deep cold that seeps through your clothes and into your joints and makes you understand why medieval people moved slower, worked harder, burned more calories just trying to stay warm. And the clothes don't fit. Not the way modern clothes fit. Medieval garments are loose, practical, designed to be adjustable because tailoring is expensive and fabric is precious. You tie them on with belts and laces and pins. You adjust and readjust throughout the day. They shift and bunch and chafe in ways that modern elastic and zippers and precisely cut patterns have trained you to find intolerable. There's no underwear as you know it, no boxer briefs, no sports bras. Medieval undergarments are simple linen shifts if you have them at all, and they don't provide support or separation or any of the engineering that makes modern clothing comfortable. Everything rubs, everything shifts, everything requires constant attention and adjustment. And the smell. Your clothes smell like you because there's no washing them. Not really. Wool can be brushed and aired out, but washing it properly requires significant effort, hot water, soap that's made from animal fat, and lye, time and labor that most people can't spare. So, you wear your clothes until they literally fall apart, and they absorb your sweat and your smoke and the smells of your life until they're less garment and more second skin. Studies on clothing and psychology show that what we wear affects how we feel, how we move, how we perceive ourselves. It's called enclothed cognition. The idea that clothing triggers psychological changes that affect our behavior and self-perception. When you put on a lab coat, you become more careful, more detail-oriented. When you wear athletic clothes, you're more likely to exercise. When you put on medieval clothing, heavy and crude and uncomfortable, you become slower, more deliberate, more aware of your body's limitations and the effort required for every movement. The confidence you carry in modern clothes, the ease with which you move through the world, starts to erode. You look down at yourself and you don't recognize what you see. This isn't fashion. This isn't expression. This is armor against a world that's actively trying to kill you through cold and wet and the thousand small ways that exposure can break down a human body. You move toward the door and you hesitate because you know, on some instinctive level, that once you step outside, everything changes. The controlled environment of your dwelling, miserable as it is, has been preparation. The real medieval world is out there, waiting. You open the door, and the sensory assault that follows is unlike anything you've experienced. Everything you've been processing up to this point has been contained. Internal, manageable. This is something else entirely. The first thing that hits you is the smell. You thought the indoor smells were bad. They were nothing. Concentrated, yes, but limited to your immediate space. Out here, the smell is everywhere. It's a miasma, a fog, a physical presence that you can almost taste. Human waste, animal waste, rotting garbage, tanning leather in urine, rendering animal fat, butchering meat, all of it just sitting in the streets because there's no sanitation system, no garbage collection, no concept that waste is something to be managed and removed rather than just left wherever it falls. Medieval city regulations occasionally required people to clean the areas in front of their homes, but enforcement was sporadic at best. Court records are filled with complaints about people throwing waste into the streets, keeping pigs in their houses, maintaining dung heaps that overflowed into public areas. The famous Assize of Nuisance records from medieval London detail constant conflicts over waste management. One case describes a man whose cesspit overflowed into his neighbor's cellar. Another involves a butcher whose blood and offal ran down the street into someone's well. A third concerns a woman who kept so many pigs that their waste created an impassable mound in the street. And these weren't exceptional cases. This was normal. This was daily life in a world without sewers, without running water, without any of the infrastructure that makes modern urban life possible. You step into the street and your feet sink into mud. Except it's not just mud. It's mud mixed with manure and urine and rotting organic matter, a slurry that's been churned by feet and hooves and cartwheels into a consistency that's part solid, part liquid, all disgusting. Your modern shoes, or rather the crude leather boots you've been given, offer minimal protection. Medieval footwear is leather, often without soles, just wrapped and tied around your feet. They're not waterproof, they're not insulated, they leak. Your feet are immediately cold and wet, and you understand viscerally why medieval people suffered from constant foot problems, infections, chilblains, the kind of chronic discomfort that makes every step a negotiation with pain. And the sounds. The sounds are overwhelming. Animals everywhere. Chickens scratching in the street, pigs rooting through garbage, dogs barking, fighting over scraps, geese honking, cows lowing, horses neighing, the constant background. Cacophony of a world where animals aren't pets or wildlife but workers, food sources, transportation, wealth on four legs that live among humans because there's nowhere else to put them, and people. So many people all talking, shouting, calling out. Medieval people are loud, they have to be. There's no other way to communicate in a world without amplification, without electronics, without any way to make yourself heard except by raising your voice. Vendors calling out their wares, craftsmen hammering and sawing and creating a constant industrial noise that goes on from dawn to dusk. Children playing, screaming, running through the streets in packs because childhood in medieval times isn't supervised and scheduled and structured. It's feral, free, dangerous. You hear church bells. And this is important. This is something you need to understand. Church bells are the only way medieval people mark time. There are no clocks, no watches, no way to know what time it is, except by the position of the sun and the ringing of bells for prayers, prime, terce, sext, none, vespers, compline, the rhythms of monastic life that structure the entire medieval day, and your brain, trained to understand time in hours and minutes and seconds, struggles to adapt. You don't know what time it is. You have no way to measure the passage of time except by these external markers, these sounds that everyone else understands instinctively, but that you're still trying to decode. The cognitive load is enormous. Your brain is processing more sensory information than it's designed to handle. Every sense is overwhelmed. Every neural pathway is firing at maximum capacity. And you're not adapting. You're drowning. You start walking, and immediately you're in a crowd. Medieval streets are narrow, impossibly narrow by modern standards. Buildings lean toward each other, their upper stories jutting out over the street, creating a canyon of shadow and noise and pressing humanity. There's no concept of personal space, no buffer zone, no polite distance. People push, they jostle, they press against you without apology or acknowledgement because that's just how it is. Bodies in constant contact, strangers touching you every moment, their hands on your shoulders, your back, their faces close enough that you can smell their breath, see the rot in their teeth, notice the rashes and sores and signs of disease that mark almost everyone. And you're panicking because modern life has trained you to value personal space, to recoil from unsolicited touch, to maintain boundaries that medieval people don't even recognize exist. Proxemics, the study of personal space, shows that comfortable interpersonal distance varies by culture, but even in the most contact-oriented modern cultures, there's still a recognized need for personal boundaries. Medieval Europe had none. Touch was constant, casual, unavoidable. People slept together, worked together, ate from communal bowls, shared cups, existed in a state of physical intimacy with strangers that would be considered assault in modern times. You try to move to the side, to create space, and you can't. The crowd is too dense, the street is too narrow, and everyone around you is moving with purpose, with destination, with the kind of certainty that comes from navigating familiar territory. But you don't know where you're going. You don't understand the layout of this place. Medieval cities aren't planned. There are no street signs, no maps for ordinary people, no grid system or logical organization. Streets wander, they dead end, they turn into alleys or courtyards or private spaces without warning. You're lost in a crowd of people who all know exactly where they're going, and your modern anxiety about being lost, about not having GPS or a map or any way to orient yourself, is spiking. Your heart is racing. Your breathing is shallow. You're on the edge of a panic attack in the middle of a medieval street, and no one notices. No one cares. This is just another day. And then you notice the eyes. Everyone is watching you. Everyone has noticed that you're different, that you move wrong, that you don't belong. Medieval communities are tight. Everyone knows everyone. Strangers are rare, suspicious, potentially dangerous. And you look strange. Even if you're wearing the right clothes, you move wrong. Your posture is different. Your gait is different. Modern humans walk differently than medieval humans. We're taller on average. We carry ourselves more upright. We've been shaped by different nutrition and different work and different lives. You see people pointing, whispering, and you don't know if they're curious or hostile or just noting your presence for later discussion, but you feel exposed, vulnerable, like prey. Social anxiety in medieval times wasn't about being judged for your appearance or your social skills. It was about survival, about being identified as an outsider in communities where outsiders were viewed with suspicion and sometimes violence, where being different could mark you as dangerous or heretical or in league with forces that good Christians should fear. You keep walking. You have to. Standing still would be even more suspicious. So you move with the crowd, trying to blend in, trying to seem like you belong, and failing completely. You turn a corner, and you see something that stops you cold. Two men fighting. Except fighting isn't the right word. This is violence, real violence, the kind you've only seen in movies, sanitized and choreographed and safe. They're using knives, short blades, eating knives probably, because everyone carries a knife in medieval times. It's a tool, not a weapon, until suddenly it is a weapon. And they're hacking at each other with a brutality that makes your modern sensibilities recoil. Blood on the ground, blood on their clothes. One man's face is opened from eye to jaw. The other is clutching his arm where fabric and skin have been cut away. And they're still fighting, still trying to kill each other, still locked in combat with the intensity that speaks to disputes and grudges and a world where violence is a normal method of conflict resolution, and no one is stopping them. The crowd has formed a loose circle watching, but no one intervenes. There's no police force, no emergency services, no 911 to call. Violence is something that happens, and people watch until it's over, and then life continues. Medieval violence was common in ways that statistics can barely capture. Court records show assault rates that would be considered crisis levels in modern society. Homicide rates in medieval England have been estimated at anywhere from 10 to 50 per 100,000 people, compared to around 1 to 2 per 100,000 in modern developed nations. But those numbers don't capture the lived experience. The constant low-level violence, the shoving, the hitting, the beatings that were considered normal discipline for children, servants, apprentices, the public executions that were entertainment, the torture that was legal and accepted as a method of investigation. You watch this fight, and something in you breaks, because you realize that violence here isn't aberrant, it's ambient, it's everywhere. It's woven into the fabric of daily life in ways that your modern brain, trained to see violence as exceptional and shocking and wrong, can't process. One man goes down, the other kicks him, keeps kicking him even after he's clearly beaten, and still no one intervenes. The crowd watches with the kind of detached interest you'd show to a sporting event. There's none of the horror or moral outrage or urgent need to help that modern people would feel. The man on the ground isn't moving. You don't know if he's unconscious or dead. You don't know what happens next, and you're frozen, unable to look away, unable to process what you're seeing through any framework that makes sense. This is the moment you understand that medieval times isn't just different, it's alien, operating on psychological principles so removed from your own that you might as well be on another planet. You keep walking, your mind still reeling from what you've witnessed, and you notice something else, something more subtle, but equally fundamental to medieval life. The hierarchy is visible, physical, unmistakable. In modern life, hierarchy exists, but we pretend it doesn't. We dress similarly, use the same technology, share public spaces in ways that obscure class differences. You can't always tell who's wealthy and who's struggling just by looking at them on the street. In medieval times, hierarchy is the first thing you see. It's encoded in clothing, in posture, in who moves aside for whom, in who speaks and who stays silent, in 1,000 tiny markers that everyone understands instinctively, but that you're struggling to decode. A man approaches and the crowd parts, not dramatically, not with fanfare, just a subtle shift, a natural movement that creates space. He's wearing better clothes, dyed fabric, actual tailoring, a sword at his hip, and everyone knows, without being told, that he's noble, that he has status, that he has the legal right to violence that others don't. You don't move aside fast enough. You're still processing, still trying to understand what's happening. And he's suddenly in your face, shouting at you in a dialect you can barely understand, and his hand is on his sword. And you realize with crystalline clarity that he could kill you right now and face minimal consequences. Medieval law was not egalitarian. Nobles had different legal rights than commoners. The testimony of a noble was worth more in court. Crimes against nobles were punished more severely, and nobles could commit violence against commoners with relative impunity. The famous trial by combat that shows up in modern fantasy? Real, legal, a way for nobles to settle disputes through violence because the assumption was that God would grant victory to the righteous, and nobles were by definition closer to God than commoners. You stammer an apology, you move aside, you look at the ground because eye contact with your betters is presumptuous, and something inside you cringes at your own submission, at how quickly you've adopted the body language of medieval subservience, at how your modern sense of equality and dignity has evaporated in the face of real physical power. He walks past, the crowd closes behind him, and no one looks at you with sympathy or solidarity, because this is just how things are. This is the natural order, the hierarchy that God Himself ordained. And you realize that medieval people don't just accept this hierarchy, they believe in it. It's not oppression to them. It's structure, order, the way the world is supposed to be. And your modern horror at inequality, your instinctive belief that all people are created equal, is completely alien to this worldview. You're starting to understand something deeper now, something about how environment shapes psychology, about how the world you live in creates the thoughts you think and the beliefs you hold. Your modern beliefs about equality and individual rights and human dignity, they're not universal truths. They're products of a specific time and place, and in medieval times those beliefs literally don't exist. The conceptual framework that would allow someone to think all people are equal hasn't been invented yet. The bells ring, sext, the midday prayer, and the crowd shifts again. People are moving toward the church. Not everyone, not with any apparent urgency, but there's a general flow, a tendency toward the massive stone building that dominates the center of this medieval settlement. And you understand, perhaps for the first time, what religion meant in medieval times. It wasn't a private belief or a Sunday morning activity. It was the organizing principle of all life, the framework through which everything else was understood. Medieval Christianity wasn't optional. It wasn't a choice. You couldn't be a skeptic or an atheist or someone who just wasn't interested in spiritual matters. Those concepts didn't exist. Everyone was Christian because Christianity was simply how reality worked. Not believing in God would be like not believing in gravity. And the church wasn't just a place of worship. It was the center of social life, the source of education, the repository of art and culture, the provider of charity, the keeper of records, the arbiter of disputes, the framework for understanding time and meaning and purpose. You follow the crowd inside, and the sensory shift is immediate and overwhelming. It's dark. The thick stone walls block out most of the daylight, and what little filters through the narrow windows is transformed into something mystical, ethereal, otherworldly. Dust motes dance in shafts of colored light where stained glass catches the sun. The air smells of incense and old stone and the accumulated breath of thousands of prayers, and it's quiet, not silent, but a different kind of sound. Whispers echo off vaulted ceilings. Footsteps are muffled by the sheer volume of space. The acoustics are designed to amplify the priest's voice, to make the liturgy feel like it's coming from everywhere and nowhere from heaven itself. You look up, and the ceiling soars above you, higher than any building you've been in since arriving in medieval times, higher than seems possible with the technology available, and it's covered in paintings, saints and demons, and biblical scenes rendered in colors that somehow remain vivid despite centuries of candle smoke. This is the most beautiful thing you've seen since arriving, the most carefully crafted, the most intentionally designed, and it hits you with emotional force. Medieval people put all their wealth, all their skill, all their artistic genius into churches. Not because they were coerced, but because this was what mattered most. This connection to the divine, this space that reached toward heaven. The priest is speaking in Latin. You don't understand a word. Neither do most of the people around you. Latin is the language of the church, of education, of power. Ordinary people hear Mass in a language they don't speak, participate in rituals they understand through performance rather than comprehension, but they're responding, crossing themselves, kneeling, standing, moving through the choreography of worship with practiced ease. And you're trying to follow along, trying to mimic the movements, and failing. Your modern body doesn't know how to kneel properly on stone floors. Your modern mind is too busy analyzing to properly participate. And you're noticing something else, something about the way medieval people relate to religion that's fundamentally different from modern religiosity. There's no distance, no skepticism, no intellectual doubt. These people believe with their entire bodies, their entire beings. When they pray, they're not hoping or wishing or engaging in metaphorical thinking. They're talking to God, actually talking with the same certainty that you talk to your friends. Studies in the cognitive science of religion show that medieval religiosity operated on different psychological principles than modern faith. Anthropologist Tanya Luhrmann's work on evangelical Christians shows that even devout modern believers maintain a kind of cognitive distance, a part of their mind that remains skeptical, analytical, aware that they're engaging in something that others might not believe. Medieval people had no such distance. Hallucinations of saints weren't psychiatric symptoms, they were divine visions. Hearing voices wasn't a sign of schizophrenia, it was direct communication with God. The boundary between natural and supernatural was permeable, fluid, constantly being crossed. And this changes everything about how you'd experience medieval life, because modern people can be anxious or depressed or stressed, but at the end of the day, we believe we're in control. We believe that with enough therapy or medication or self-help, we can manage our mental states. Medieval people believed they were in constant spiritual warfare, that demons were real and actively trying to possess them, that sin was a physical corruption that manifested in disease and misfortune, that their eternal souls were at stake in every decision, every action, every thought. The psychological weight of this worldview is crushing. You're not just trying to survive, you're trying to save your soul, and you're failing because you don't actually believe, not the way they believe, and you can't fake that kind of faith. The Mass continues. The priest elevates the host. According to Catholic doctrine, at this moment, the bread literally transforms into the flesh of Christ. Not symbolically, literally, transubstantiation, a miracle happening right in front of you, and everyone around you is overcome with awe. Some are weeping. Some are on their faces on the stone floor. The intensity of their belief is palpable, almost physical. You can feel it pressing against you, demanding a response you can't give. You bow your head. You try to look reverent, but inside you're empty, disconnected, isolated by your inability to participate in the central defining experience of medieval life. The Mass ends, the crowd disperses, and now you face the reality that you've been dreading since you opened your eyes this morning. Work, but not work as you know it. Not 8 hours at a desk or in a store or even in a factory. Work in medieval times is physical labor, brutal, unending. The kind of work that breaks bodies and shortens lives and leaves you too exhausted at the end of the day to do anything but eat and sleep and prepare to do it all again tomorrow. If you're a peasant, and you probably are because 90% of medieval people were peasants, your work is farming. And medieval farming is nothing like modern agriculture. There are no tractors, no combines, no machines of any kind. Just your body and simple tools and the land that you're bound to by feudal law. You walk to the fields, and immediately your modern body starts protesting. The walking itself is work. Miles of walking on uneven ground in inadequate shoes. Your feet are already blistered from this morning. Now they're going to get worse. Much worse. You reach the field, and you're handed a tool, a hoe or a scythe or a plow, and you're expected to use it for hours, without break, without complaint. You've never done this kind of work. Your body has never done this kind of work. Your muscles, shaped by sitting and occasional gym sessions, and the kind of low-intensity movement that characterizes modern life are not prepared for this. Within minutes, you're exhausted. Your back is screaming. Your hands are blistering. Your shoulders are burning with a pain that tells you you're doing real damage to your body. But you can't stop because everyone around you is working, old men, women, children as young as 7 or 8. All of them moving with practiced efficiency, their bodies hardened by years of this labor, their minds either numb to the pain or so accustomed to it that it's just background noise. Studies on labor and physiology show that humans can adapt to almost any physical demand given enough time. Professional athletes push their bodies to extremes. Manual laborers develop calluses and muscle adaptations that allow them to work at intensities that would injure untrained people. But that adaptation takes months, years, and you don't have months, you have today, right now, this moment where your body is breaking down and your mind is screaming at you to stop, but you can't, because stopping means you don't eat and you don't survive. The sun beats down. It's summer, let's say, because winter work is even worse. The heat is oppressive. You're sweating through your woolen clothes, which now weigh even more and chafe even worse. There's no water break, no shade, no respite. You're bent over, swinging a hoe, breaking up soil that's thick with clay and rocks. Each swing jars your entire body. Your hands are raw. Blood is seeping through the blisters that have already formed and popped. And you've been working for maybe an hour. The medieval workday lasted from dawn to dusk. 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours in summer. All of it physical labor. All of it at an intensity that modern people rarely experience even in the most demanding jobs. And this isn't a bad day. This is every day, 6 days a week. From childhood until you're too old or broken to work anymore, at which point you become a burden on your family and the community, kept alive by charity if you're lucky, left to starve if you're not. Your modern mind is trying to cope with this, trying to find meaning or purpose or some way to make this bearable. And you can't, because this work isn't meaningful. It's not building toward anything. It's not part of a career trajectory or a path to financial independence or a way to express yourself. It's survival, pure survival. You work to eat. You eat to have the energy to work. And that's it. That's the entire equation for your whole life. Around noon, there's a break. You collapse onto the ground and you literally cannot move. Every muscle in your body is quivering. Your hands are shaking so badly you can barely hold the piece of bread someone passes you. The other workers are tired, but they're functional. They're talking, joking, eating with appetite, and you're in shock, physical shock. Your body has gone through more trauma in one morning than it's experienced in years. And the break is short, maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour. And then it's back to work, back to the fields, back to the endless physical labor that's only halfway done. By mid-afternoon, you're experiencing something you've never truly felt before. Real hunger, not the skipped meal. Hunger that makes you cranky and makes your stomach growl. Not the diet hunger where you're trying to lose weight. Real, deep, physiological hunger that tells you your body is running out of fuel and there's nothing you can do about it. Medieval peasants lived on the edge of starvation. Not during famines or bad years, always. The baseline level of food insecurity was something modern people in developed nations simply don't experience. Historians estimate that medieval peasants consumed between 2,000 and 3,000 calories per day when food was available. But they were burning and 500 to 4,500 calories doing heavy physical labor. The math doesn't work. They were running a caloric deficit most of the time, burning through their body's energy reserves, living in a state of chronic undernourishment. And the food they did eat was monotonous: bread, pottage, a thick vegetable soup, occasionally some cheese or bacon. Meat was rare, a luxury for feast days and celebrations. Fruits and vegetables were seasonal. Variety was non-existent. Your modern body, accustomed to regular meals and snacks and the constant availability of food, is in distress. Your blood sugar is crashing. Your metabolism is panicking. You're dizzy, shaky. Your vision is starting to narrow at the edges, and you have hours of work left. Hours of physical labor on an empty stomach with no prospect of food until evening. If then, because food availability depends on the season and the success of the last harvest and your position in the feudal hierarchy and a dozen other factors you have no control over. You're swinging the hoe, and you're not thinking about anything anymore. Not about the strangeness of this place, or how to survive, or what this all means. You're thinking about food, only food. Your entire consciousness has narrowed to this one primal need. This is what poverty looked like in medieval times, not the abstract financial poverty of modern homelessness. Physical poverty, your body being broken down because there isn't enough food to sustain it. Your life being shortened with every passing day of inadequate nutrition. Studies on starvation and hunger show that chronic undernourishment changes brain function. Cognitive abilities decline. Emotional regulation becomes difficult. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for planning and impulse control and higher reasoning, is suppressed as the brain redirects resources to immediate survival needs. You're not the person you were this morning. You're not even the person you were an hour ago. You're becoming an animal, reduced to base instincts, survival, food, rest, and this is permanent. This is what medieval people lived with their entire lives, this constant low-grade starvation that shaped their psychology, their beliefs, their entire relationship with the world. When medieval people talk about gluttony as a sin, they're not being abstract or philosophical. They're talking about a real temptation, the overwhelming desire to eat when food is available, to consume past fullness, to hoard and protect food resources, because scarcity isn't occasional, it's constant. When medieval people dream of heaven, they describe it as a place of abundance, feasts, rivers of milk and honey, eternal satiation, because that's the ultimate fantasy for people who are always hungry. You keep working. You have no choice. Your body is operating on autopilot now, muscle memory taking over, because conscious thought requires energy you don't have. As the afternoon wears on, you become aware of something else, something you've been too overwhelmed to notice until now. You're being watched, constantly, by everyone. Medieval communities were small. Villages rarely exceeded a few hundred people. Everyone knew everyone. And I don't mean they were acquainted. I mean they knew everything about each other. Your family history, your debts, your feuds, your secrets, your sins. Privacy was not just absent, it was literally inconceivable as a concept. The idea that you could have a private life, private thoughts, private actions that were no one else's business, that's a modern invention. In medieval times, everything was communal. You sleep in a room with your entire family. You work in fields alongside your neighbors. You eat from communal bowls. You confess your sins to a priest who knows your whole life story. You settle disputes in front of the entire village. Your marriage is witnessed by the community. Your death is mourned publicly. And judgment is constant. Not because medieval people were particularly judgmental, but because social cohesion depended on everyone knowing and enforcing community standards. If you're lazy, everyone knows. If you're generous, everyone knows. If you cheat or steal or commit adultery, the entire village knows within hours. And consequences aren't legal, they're social, shame, ostracism. The withdrawal of cooperation that in a subsistence economy can mean death. You can feel the eyes on you now. The other workers noting how slowly you're moving, how often you stop to rest, how inadequate you are at this work. You can hear the whispers, not hostile exactly, but evaluative, measuring you, placing you in the social hierarchy, and you can't escape it. There's nowhere to go where you're not being observed. No private space, no moment alone. Even when you sleep, your family is there. When you relieve yourself, you do it in a communal privy or just outside, visible to anyone who walks by. Psychological research on privacy and mental health shows that humans need solitude, time alone, space to process emotions without being observed. The complete lack of privacy in medieval times created psychological pressures that modern people can barely imagine. You couldn't have a breakdown, couldn't cry in private, couldn't process trauma or grief or fear without an audience. Every emotion was public, every vulnerability exposed, and this visibility worked both ways. You couldn't hide your weaknesses, but you also couldn't hide your strengths. Reputation was everything because it was based on observed behavior over an entire lifetime. You couldn't reinvent yourself, couldn't move to a new city and start over. You were who you were, and everyone knew it. The isolation you'd feel wouldn't come from being alone. It would come from being constantly surrounded by people who knew you weren't one of them, who could see in every gesture and expression that you were different, wrong, out of place. The sun is finally starting to sink toward the horizon. The workday is ending. And you're not sure you can walk back to the village. You make it back somehow, your body moving through pure stubbornness because it certainly isn't moving through strength. You collapse inside the dwelling and you don't think you can ever move again. But there's food. Finally, the evening meal. And this is it. This is the main meal of the day. The one time when the family gathers and eats something, approaching a full portion. It's pottage, thick vegetable soup made from whatever was available, onions, cabbage, peas, maybe some barley or oats to thicken it. It's cooked in a pot that hangs over the fire and never completely empties. Every day, new ingredients are added to whatever's left from yesterday. It's been simmering like this for weeks, maybe months. The smell alone makes your modern sensibilities recoil. It's not fresh, not clean. There's a sourness to it, a fermented quality that speaks to bacterial activity that modern food safety would condemn. But you're too hungry to care. You're given a wooden bowl and a spoon, and you eat. You shovel food into your mouth with desperate intensity, and it's the best thing you've ever tasted. Not because it's good. It's not. It's bland and strange and not quite right. But because you're so hungry that anything edible triggers a dopamine response that overwhelms all other considerations, and then it's gone. Your bowl is empty, and you're still hungry. Your body is screaming for more calories, more nutrition, more fuel, but there is no more. This is it. This is all the food there is until tomorrow. You look around, and everyone else is still eating, slowly, deliberately, making it last, because they know this is all there is. They've learned portion control not from diets, but from necessity. A piece of bread is passed around. Dark, dense bread that you gnaw on to make your stomach feel fuller. And cheese, a small piece of hard cheese that's been aging for months. Its flavor so strong, it makes your eyes water. And that's dinner. That's the meal that has to sustain you through tomorrow's work. Maybe 800 calories total, maybe less. Your modern understanding of nutrition is screaming that this isn't enough. You need protein, you need vitamins, you need minerals and micronutrients, and a balanced diet. You need so much more than this. But this is what medieval peasants lived on. This is what built the cathedrals and plowed the fields and raised the children. This marginal diet that kept people alive but never thriving, never quite healthy, always on the edge of deficiency diseases. Studies of medieval skeletons show the evidence of chronic malnutrition, stunted growth, bone deformities from rickets, dental problems from vitamin C deficiency, anemia, osteoporosis, bodies that wore out decades earlier than they should have. The average height of medieval people was significantly shorter than modern humans, not because of genetics, but because of nutrition. Give those same people modern diets, and their descendants are inches taller, decades healthier, fundamentally different at a biological level. You finish eating, and you're still hungry. You'll go to bed hungry. You'll wake up hungry. You'll be hungry every moment of every day for the rest of your time here. And this is normal. This is just life. It's barely dark, and everyone is going to bed because there's nothing else to do. No electric lights, no entertainment. Candles and oil lamps are too expensive for everyday use. Once the sun sets, you sit in darkness or you sleep. You lie down on your pallet. Your body is one continuous ache. Every muscle is screaming. Your hands are raw wounds. Your back feels like someone has beaten you with clubs. Your feet are bleeding inside your boots, and you can't get comfortable. The pallet is thin. The floor is hard. You're cold even though you're wearing all your clothes because your body has no reserves left to generate heat. You listen to the sounds of the dwelling settling, the fire dying down, the family breathing, someone snoring, a child whimpering in sleep, rats in the walls, animals below, all the sounds that should be familiar by now but still aren't, and you're thinking about tomorrow, about having to do this all again, about the impossibility of sustaining this level of physical punishment day after day after day. But here's the truth. Medieval people did sustain it for their entire lives. From childhood to death, they lived with this level of physical hardship, and they didn't see it as exceptional. They didn't have anything to compare it to. This was just reality. The psychological adaptation required for this is profound. Modern people experiencing trauma or hardship hold on to the hope that things will get better. We believe in progress, in improvement, in the possibility of change. Even in the worst situations, we tell ourselves, this is temporary. Medieval people had no such hope. Things wouldn't get better. Your life would be like your parents' lives, and their parents' lives going back generations. The idea of social mobility or improving your circumstances was fantasy. You were born into a position, and you die in that position. This created a different relationship with suffering, not acceptance exactly, but a kind of psychological endurance that modern people rarely need to develop. You didn't fight against your circumstances because fighting was futile. You endured. You survived. You found small moments of joy or meaning or connection in a life that was objectively brutal. Studies on resilience and trauma show that humans are remarkably adaptable. We can survive horrific circumstances and maintain psychological function. But we do so by changing who we are, by developing coping mechanisms that would be considered maladaptive in normal circumstances. Medieval people weren't stronger than you. They were just adapted to different hardships, and that adaptation came at a cost. Shorter lives, chronic pain, limited emotional range, a fatalism that modern psychology might classify as depression, but that medieval people considered realism. You drift toward sleep, and you're not sure if you'll wake up tomorrow. Your body has been pushed beyond its limits. Every system is compromised. Your immune system is weakened. Your muscles are damaged. Your cardiovascular system is stressed. And this is just day one. Let's talk about what you haven't noticed yet. What you couldn't notice because you lack the medical knowledge to recognize it. Everyone around you is sick, not acutely ill, not dramatically symptomatic, but carrying chronic infections, parasites, untreated conditions that would be easily managed in modern times, but that are just part of life in medieval times. The person sleeping next to you has tuberculosis, a slow, wasting disease that will kill them in a few years, but that right now just manifests as a persistent cough and low-grade fever. They're contagious. You're being exposed. Your modern immune system, trained on antibiotics and vaccines and sanitation, has no resistance to this. The child in the corner has worms, intestinal parasites that are endemic in medieval populations, caused by poor sanitation, untreated water, food that's contaminated with fecal matter. The child's belly is distended. They're malnourished not because there isn't enough food, but because the parasites are consuming the nutrition before the child can absorb it. The old man by the fire has leprosy, or what medieval people call leprosy, which might be actual Hansen's disease or might be any number of skin conditions that produce lesions and disfigurement. He's still living with the family because he hasn't been declared legally leprous yet, hasn't been forced to live outside the village and warn people of his approach with a bell. Medieval disease was constant, inescapable. Everyone carried something: bacterial infections, viral infections, fungal infections, parasites, chronic conditions that modern medicine could treat easily, but that medieval people just lived with until they didn't anymore. Infant mortality was around 30–40%. That means 1 in 3 children died before their 5th birthday. Not in famines or plagues, just normally. From diarrhea, from respiratory infections, from diseases we don't even track anymore because they're so rare. And the psychological impact of this is staggering. Medieval parents loved their children, but they couldn't love them the way modern parents do. They couldn't invest completely emotionally because the odds were that some of those children wouldn't survive. They had to maintain a kind of emotional distance, a protective numbness that allowed them to continue functioning when children died. Some historians argue that medieval people didn't love as deeply as modern people because evolution hadn't selected for strong parental bonding in high mortality environments. But that's probably wrong. More likely, medieval people felt the same love, but had to suppress it, cope with it, function despite it in ways that would look like coldness to modern observers. And you're going to get sick. It's not a question of if, it's when. Your modern body has no immunity to medieval diseases, no vaccination against smallpox or measles, no antibiotics to fight bacterial infections, no understanding of how disease spreads or how to protect yourself. Within a week, you'll probably have dysentery, diarrhea so severe it kills through dehydration. Medieval people called it the flux, and it was one of the leading causes of death. You'll get it from contaminated water or food or just from touching things that other sick people have touched. And there's no treatment, no Pepto-Bismol, no IV rehydration, no hospital. You either survive or you don't. And plenty of people didn't. You're lying in the dark, and you've been exposed to a dozen diseases today. You're breathing air that's thick with bacteria and viruses. You're touching surfaces contaminated with pathogens. You're eating food that's crawling with things that will make you sick, and there's nothing you can do about it. No hand sanitizer, no way to sterilize anything, no concept of germ theory or infection control or any of the basic hygiene practices that keep modern people relatively healthy. You're going to get sick, and when you do, you're going to understand viscerally what it means to live in a world without modern medicine. Sleep won't come. Your body is too uncomfortable. Your mind is too active. You're lying in the dark and you're praying. Except you're not really praying. You're going through the motions, reciting words you've heard others say, because everyone prays before sleep. It's not optional. It's not a personal choice. It's what you do, but you don't believe, not the way they believe, and you're starting to realize that this matters, that your lack of faith is going to be a problem. Medieval Christianity wasn't just about going to church. It was about constant, daily, moment-by-moment awareness of your relationship with God. You prayed when you woke up, before meals, before work, at regular intervals throughout the day marked by church bells, before sleep. And these weren't casual prayers, they were specific formulas: the Pater Noster, Our Father, the Ave Maria, Hail Mary. Prayers you were supposed to know by heart, that you were expected to recite correctly, that marked you as a proper Christian. If you didn't know these prayers, people noticed. If you didn't cross yourself properly, people noticed. If you didn't show proper reverence during Mass, people noticed. And the consequences weren't just social, they were spiritual. And in a world where everyone believed in hell as a literal place of eternal torture, spiritual consequences were the worst consequences possible. You're trying to pray, and the words feel empty, meaningless. You're performing a ritual that everyone around you experiences as profound connection to the divine, and you feel nothing. And this isolation, this inability to participate in the central organizing principle of medieval life, is breaking you in a way that the physical hardships haven't. Because you can adapt to hunger, you can adapt to pain, you can even adapt to constant surveillance and lack of privacy. But you can't fake belief. You can't force yourself to experience religious ecstasy or divine presence or the certainty that God is watching and judging your every action. And medieval people can tell, maybe not consciously, but they sense it. Your discomfort during prayers, your lack of proper reverence, the way you go through the motions without feeling. Some might interpret this as sinfulness, others as demonic influence. A few might wonder if you're a heretic. And heresy in medieval times wasn't a matter for debate. It was a capital crime. The Inquisition wouldn't reach its peak for a few more centuries, but medieval authorities were already concerned about heresy, about people who questioned church doctrine, who expressed doubts about transubstantiation, or the cult of saints, or any of the fundamental beliefs that structured Christian life. And you don't just have doubts, you have complete disbelief. And if anyone suspected that, if anyone understood the full extent of your skepticism, you could be arrested, tried, tortured, until you confessed and executed. So you pray, you recite the words, you try to look reverent, and you feel like a fraud, an imposter, someone playing a role badly and waiting to be caught. The psychological strain of this is immense. Modern people can be religious or not. It's a choice, a personal decision. And even non-religious people live in pluralistic societies where multiple belief systems coexist. Medieval Europe was monolithic. Everyone believed the same things, or they pretended to. And pretending while maintaining your psychological integrity is nearly impossible long-term. You finally sleep, sort of. That fitful, unsatisfying sleep that comes from exhaustion rather than rest. And you dream, except your dreams are different here, more vivid, more meaningful, because medieval people believed dreams were messages from God, from demons, from the dead. Dreams weren't random neural firing, they were communications that required interpretation. You dream of the life you left behind. Modern conveniences, hot showers, comfortable beds, food whenever you wanted it, and you wake with a grief so profound it feels like bereavement, because you're starting to understand that you can't go back, that even if you could physically return to the modern world, you'd be changed, marked by this experience in ways that would never fully heal. Medieval life wasn't just difficult, it was traumatic. Continuously traumatic, every day bringing new hardships, new pains, new reasons to break down psychologically, and medieval people coped with this through faith, through belief that suffering had meaning, that earthly pain would be rewarded with heavenly joy, that every hardship was a test, a trial, an opportunity to prove your worthiness for salvation. But you don't have that framework. You can't find meaning in suffering that you know is arbitrary. That's caused by lack of technology and medical knowledge and economic systems that trapped people in generational poverty. You know this suffering is unnecessary, that future centuries will largely eliminate these problems, that humans are capable of creating societies where most people don't live in constant pain and hunger and fear. And this knowledge makes it worse, because you can't accept medieval life as normal or inevitable. You experience it as something that could be changed, should be changed, that's only continuing because people don't know better. But you can't change it. You're one person, with no power, no resources, no ability to introduce modern concepts or technology or ideas that wouldn't get you killed as a heretic or witch. So you're trapped, not just physically in medieval times, but psychologically, caught between a modern mind and medieval reality, unable to fully inhabit either space. This is the real reason you wouldn't survive medieval times, not because of the physical hardships, though those are real and severe, but because of the psychological impossibility of adapting to a world that operates on fundamentally different principles than the one you were raised in. Dawn seeps through the walls, day 2, and you have to do it all again. Your body hasn't recovered. If anything, you're worse. The muscle pain that was acute yesterday has settled into deep tissue damage. Your hands have started to infect where the blisters broke. You can feel the heat in them, the swelling, the early signs of an infection that modern antibiotics would clear up in days, but that here might cost you your fingers, your hand, your arm, your life. You stand up and your vision goes black for a moment. Your blood pressure hasn't adjusted to the physical demands. Your nutrition isn't sufficient to repair the damage you're doing. Your body is cannibalizing itself, burning muscle for energy, breaking down tissues to keep vital organs functioning, and everyone else is moving normally. Tired, yes, but functional, because their bodies have adapted over years to these demands. You're experiencing what medical researchers call maladaptation shock. Your body is trying to respond to demands it wasn't designed for, and it's failing. Stress hormones are chronically elevated. Your immune system is compromised. Your cardiovascular system is strained. Your metabolic processes are disrupted. In modern terms, you're experiencing the equivalent of severe overtraining syndrome combined with malnutrition and chronic stress. Elite athletes who push too hard without proper rest and nutrition experience similar symptoms. But they can stop, they can rest, they can recover. You can't, because stopping means starvation, means being seen as lazy, means social ostracism in a world where social bonds are literally the difference between life and death. So, you eat your piece of bread, you drink your weak ale, and you go to the fields again. By mid-morning of day 2, something happens. You're swinging the hoe, and suddenly you can't. Your body simply refuses to continue. Your arms won't lift. Your legs won't hold you. You collapse onto the ground, and you can't get up. This isn't choice. This isn't you deciding to quit. This is your body shutting down, hitting a physiological limit that your modern upbringing never prepared you for. And the response from those around you is not sympathetic. Someone kicks dirt at you. Someone else mutters what's probably an insult in a dialect you barely understand. A third person spits near you, though whether at you or just in general disgust is unclear. Because medieval people didn't have room for weakness. Survival depended on everyone contributing, on everyone pulling their weight. Someone who couldn't work was a burden, a drain on resources that were already scarce. In good times, communities might support the genuinely disabled, the old, the injured, but that support was begrudging, minimal, contingent on you having earned it through years of productive labor. You haven't earned anything. You're a stranger, an outsider, and now you're proving that you're not just different, but useless. Someone pulls you to your feet, roughly, and shoves the hoe back into your hands, and the message is clear. Work or starve. Those are your options. There is no third choice. You try. You genuinely try. But your body won't cooperate. You manage a few more swings, and then you're on the ground again. And this time, the response is anger. Real anger. Someone is shouting at you. Someone else is gesturing toward the village, and you understand that you're being sent away, dismissed, told that if you can't work, you're not welcome here. You stumble back toward the village, and in this walk of shame, this public failure, you're experiencing something that cuts deeper than any physical pain. You're experiencing the complete breakdown of your identity. In modern life, your worth isn't solely determined by your physical labor. You have value as a consumer, as a citizen, as a person with rights and dignity. Even if you can't work, social safety nets exist. Disability, support, welfare, the basic acknowledgement that human beings have inherent value regardless of their economic productivity. Medieval society had no such conception. Your value was what you could produce, what you could contribute. If you couldn't work, you were worthless, literally without worth. And this isn't cruelty. It's not heartlessness. It's survival math in a world where resources are so limited that keeping alive someone who can't contribute means someone else might die. You reach your dwelling and collapse inside, and you're alone for the first time since arriving. Everyone else is in the fields, working, doing what you can't do. And in this solitude, this rare moment of privacy, you break. You sob, deep, wrenching sobs that come from somewhere primal, from the realization that you can't do this, can't survive this, can't adapt to a world so fundamentally different from everything you know. You cry for the life you left behind, for the comforts you took for granted, for the simple ability to exist without constant pain and hunger and fear. You cry for the person you were, for the confidence and capability and sense of self that's been systematically dismantled over the past 36 hours. And you cry because you know this is just the beginning, that if you stay here, it only gets worse. That winter is coming, that disease is coming, that injury and pain and endless suffering are coming. Here's what happens to the human mind under sustained trauma. First, there's denial. The belief that this can't really be happening, that it's temporary, that rescue or relief is coming. You've been in denial since you arrived, telling yourself you could handle this, that it wasn't as bad as it seemed, that you'd adapt. Then comes anger, rage at the unfairness of it all, at the people who seem unaffected, at yourself for being weak, at the universe for allowing this kind of suffering to exist. You're in this stage now, angry at your body for failing, angry at medieval people for not caring, angry at the sheer cruel indifference of this time period. Next is bargaining, the desperate attempt to negotiate with reality. If I can just make it through today, tomorrow will be better. If I can just find the right strategy, the right approach, I can survive this. You'll enter this stage soon. You'll try everything you can think of to make this bearable. Then depression, the deep, crushing realization that nothing is going to change, that this is your reality now, that all the bargaining and anger and denial in the world won't alter the fundamental truth that you're trapped in a situation you can't escape and can't endure. And finally, if you survive long enough, acceptance. Not happiness, not contentment, but a kind of numb resignation. The death of hope, the abandonment of the person you were in favor of, whoever you need to become to survive. This is the psychological progression of trauma, and you're moving through it faster than most because the gap between your previous life and your current reality is so vast. Trauma research, particularly work done with refugees and displaced persons, shows that humans can adapt to almost anything given enough time and support. But the adaptation is never without cost. You don't come through trauma unchanged. You come through it broken and rebuilt into something different, something harder, something with less capacity for joy and connection and trust. Medieval people weren't broken because they'd never been whole in the way you understand wholeness. They were adapted to medieval life from birth. Their psychology was shaped by the realities of their world. But you're being broken, actively broken, dismantled piece by piece as medieval reality grinds away everything that makes you who you are. You lie on the floor of the dwelling, and you wonder if you'll ever stand up again, if you even want to, because standing up means facing another day of this, another impossible challenge, another lesson in how inadequate you are for this world. You're lying there, lost in despair, when you hear footsteps, someone entering the dwelling. You look up, and it's an old woman, ancient by medieval standards, probably in her 50s but looking 70. Her face a map of wrinkles and scars and the accumulated damage of a hard life. She doesn't speak, just looks at you with eyes that are surprisingly sharp, surprisingly intelligent, and she moves toward you with purpose. She grabs your hands, examines them, tisks at the infected blisters, and then she's pulling out supplies, herbs you don't recognize, a poultice made from something green and pungent, clean cloth that must be precious given how rare textiles are. She cleans your wounds, and it hurts. It hurts worse than anything has hurt so far, because she's not gentle, she's practical. She's digging out infected tissue with no anesthetic, no pain management, nothing but your ability to endure. And you scream, you cry, you try to pull away, and she holds you in place with surprising strength and keeps working. When she's done, your hands are wrapped in clean bandages soaked with whatever herbal mixture she's applied. And she's looking at you with something that might be pity, or might be contempt, or might be simple assessment. She speaks, and you don't understand most of it. Her dialect is thick, her words archaic, but you catch fragments. Soft, weak, not last. She's telling you you won't survive, that you're too soft for this world, that whatever place you came from has made you unsuited for real life. And she's right. You know she's right. You can feel the truth of it in every aching muscle, every infected wound, every moment of overwhelming inadequacy. But then she says something else, words you do understand. Tomorrow, again. She's telling you to try again, to get up tomorrow and go back to the fields, to keep trying even though you'll probably fail. Because what else is there? What other option do you have? And then she's gone, leaving you with cleaned wounds and a simple directive that feels both crushing and somehow encouraging. Tomorrow, again, let's talk about what just happened. About medieval medicine and healing and the complex relationship medieval people had with sickness and health. The old woman who treated you was probably the closest thing this village has to a medical professional. Not a doctor. Doctors were university-educated men who treated the wealthy. She was a healer, a wise woman, someone who'd accumulated knowledge about herbs and treatments through experience and oral tradition. And her knowledge was real, not superstition or pseudoscience, despite what modern people might assume. Medieval herbal medicine was often effective. Willow bark for pain. It contains salicylic acid, the active ingredient in aspirin. Honey for wound care. It has natural antibacterial properties. Moldy bread for infections, penicillin-producing mold. Foxglove for heart conditions. Digitalis, still used today. But it was mixed with things that didn't work, with astrology and humoral theory, and the belief that disease was caused by bad air, or divine punishment, or the movements of the planets. Medieval people couldn't distinguish between treatments that worked because of active pharmaceutical compounds and treatments that worked because of placebo effect or just because the body healed itself. They just knew that sometimes sick people got better after certain interventions. And this uncertainty, this inability to understand the mechanisms behind health and disease, created a medical system that was simultaneously more advanced than modern people give it credit for, and hopelessly inadequate compared to what you're used to. The healer who treated you probably saved your hands from serious infection. The poultice she applied likely contains herbs with genuine antiseptic properties. But if you develop sepsis, if the infection spreads beyond the local tissue, there's nothing she can do, nothing anyone can do. You'll die, slowly, painfully, from something that modern antibiotics could cure in days. Medieval people lived with this constant uncertainty. This knowledge that any injury, any illness, any infection could kill them, and there was no way to predict which ones would and which wouldn't. Studies on health anxiety show that modern people's worry about illness is actually historically unusual. Medieval people couldn't afford to worry about every symptom because symptoms were constant. Everyone was always a little sick, always dealing with something, always living in a state that modern people would find medically unacceptable. So they developed a high pain tolerance, a high tolerance for illness, a high tolerance for watching people suffer and die, because that's just what happened. Constantly, inevitably. And this tolerance, this psychological adaptation to constant medical crisis was necessary for survival. But it came at a cost. Medieval people became numb to suffering, desensitized to pain and sickness and death in ways that would be considered pathological in modern psychology. You look at your bandaged hands and you're grateful, genuinely grateful for this small mercy, this moment of care in a world that seems to care about nothing but productivity and survival. And you realize that medieval people weren't heartless. They helped each other, cared for each other, found ways to show compassion even in circumstances that seemed to preclude it. But their compassion was practical, functional, not the endless empathy and emotional support that modern therapeutic culture encourages. They did what needed to be done, and then they moved on. Because dwelling on suffering, their own or others, was a luxury they couldn't afford. That night, you face a choice, a real choice about who you're going to be and whether you can do this. You can give up. You can stop trying to adapt. Stop fighting against the impossibility of this situation. You can lie down and wait for infection or starvation or whatever comes next to end this nightmare. Or you can try, really try, not to survive as your modern self, because that person can't exist here, but to become someone who can exist here, to let go of everything you were and see if you can be something else, something harder, something more suited to this brutal reality. This isn't a choice between life and death, not yet. It's a choice between psychological survival and psychological annihilation, between adapting and breaking completely. And here's what makes this choice so difficult. Adapting means changing fundamental parts of yourself. It means accepting a worldview you don't believe in, participating in systems you find abhorrent, becoming complicit in violence and inequality and suffering that you know is wrong. It means letting go of your modern ethics, your modern values, your modern sense of what human life should be like. It means becoming medieval, not just in your actions, but in your thoughts, in your beliefs, in your very soul. Is survival worth that cost? Is continuing to exist worth becoming someone you wouldn't recognize? Someone you might not even like? Modern people rarely face this kind of choice. We have the luxury of maintaining our values because our environment supports them. We can believe in equality and human rights and dignity because we live in societies that at least nominally share those beliefs. But values aren't universal truths. They're products of their environments, and in environments that don't support them, they become liabilities. Psychological burdens that make survival harder rather than easier. You lie in the dark, and you're trying to decide who you want to be, who you can be, who you need to be. And the answer isn't clear, because both options feel like death. Giving up is physical death. Adapting is the death of your identity, of the person you've spent your entire life becoming. Music, this is the existential crisis at the heart of this impossible thought experiment. Not, can you survive medieval times, but would you want to be the person who could survive medieval times? Day 3. You wake up, and something is different. Your hands still hurt, but less. The healer's treatment is working. Your body is starting to adapt, just barely, to the physical demands. You're still hungry, still exhausted, still in pain. But it's manageable pain now, endurable pain, and you've made a decision. You're going to try. Not because you found hope or meaning or some inspiring reason to continue, but because the alternative is unacceptable. Because human beings are wired for survival, and that wiring runs deeper than conscious choice. You get up, you eat your bread, you drink your ale, and you walk to the fields, and this time, when you pick up the hoe, something is different. You're not fighting against the work. You're not comparing it to modern life or thinking about how unfair it is or dwelling on your own inadequacy. You're just working, present in the moment, focused on the task, one swing at a time. This is what psychologists call flow state, though that term is usually applied to positive experiences, but the same mental mechanism that allows athletes and artists to lose themselves in their work can apply to any repetitive task, even brutal physical labor. You're not thinking anymore, just doing. And the hours pass differently. Not quickly, not pleasantly, but somehow more tolerably than before. You're adapting, finally, actually adapting. Your body is still screaming. Your hands are still raw. Your back is still agony. But your mind has stopped fighting it, has stopped comparing present suffering to past comfort, has accepted on some fundamental level that this is your reality now. And this acceptance, this surrender of your modern identity, brings a kind of peace, not happiness, but the end of active suffering, the end of the constant psychological resistance that made everything worse. The other workers notice. You can see it in how they look at you. Less judgment, less contempt, a kind of grudging acknowledgement that you're trying, that you're not completely useless. Someone offers you water from a communal skin. Someone else shows you a more efficient way to grip the hoe. Small gestures of inclusion that mean more than you can articulate, because you're being accepted, slowly, tentatively, as someone who might belong here, who might earn their place in this community. And you realize that medieval communities, for all their harshness, for all their judgment and lack of privacy and rigid hierarchies, also offered something modern life doesn't. Belonging, real belonging, based not on shared interests or values or chosen associations, but on shared struggle, on working together towards survival, on knowing that your neighbors, for all their flaws, will help you when you need it, because someday they'll need you. Modern communities are voluntary. You choose your friends, choose where you live, choose what groups you belong to, and this freedom is valuable, precious, something medieval people couldn't imagine, but voluntary communities can be left, can exclude you, can dissolve when circumstances change. Medieval communities bound by geography and feudal law and the practical necessity of cooperation were permanent. For better and worse, you were stuck with these people, and they were stuck with you. And that permanence created obligations, created a kind of security. You might be poor and hungry and miserable, but you wouldn't be alone. You wouldn't be abandoned, because the community needed every member, needed everyone to contribute, needed the social bonds that made survival possible. Research on happiness and well-being consistently shows that strong social connections are one of the most important factors in life satisfaction, more important than wealth, more important than comfort, more important than almost anything else. Medieval people had those connections by necessity, by design, by the very structure of their world, and you're starting to feel them, starting to understand that these people, these strangers who seem so foreign and harsh, are becoming your people, your community, your tribe. It's not enough to make medieval life good, but it's enough to make it survivable, to give you a reason to get up tomorrow and try again. And then, unexpectedly, something happens that changes everything again. It's a feast day, a saint's day, one of the many religious holidays that punctuate the medieval calendar and provide breaks from the relentless labor. The work stops. Everyone returns to the village, and suddenly, inexplicably, there's joy. Real joy, not the grim endurance you've been witnessing, but genuine celebration. Music from crude instruments, dancing, children playing, adults laughing, a sense of release and freedom that seems impossible in a world so harsh. And there's food, more food than you've seen since arriving. A pig has been slaughtered. There's fresh bread, cheese, ale that's stronger than the usual weak brew, fruits that have been saved for this occasion. You eat until your stomach hurts, and no one stops you, because today, feast day, scarcity is suspended. Today, there's abundance, and everyone shares it. The psychology of this is profound. Medieval people lived most of their lives in deprivation, but these periodic celebrations, these feast days and festivals and holy days provided relief, moments of excess that made the deprivation bearable. Modern self-help culture talks about delayed gratification and sustainable happiness, but medieval life operated on a different principle. Long periods of suffering punctuated by brief moments of joy, and somehow this worked. These celebrations gave people something to look forward to, something to endure for, something that made the rest of it survivable. You watch people dancing, crude, simple dances with no formal training or choreography, just movement and music and bodies expressing joy in the most basic way possible, and someone pulls you into the circle and you're dancing, clumsily, self-consciously, but dancing, moving with these people who've become your community, sharing in their joy. And for a moment, just a moment, you forget. You forget that you don't belong here, that this isn't your time, that you're fundamentally different from these people. For a moment, you're just human, celebrating with other humans, feeling the same emotions they feel, experiencing the same release and joy and connection that humans have felt at celebrations for thousands of years. This is what you couldn't have understood before arriving, that medieval life wasn't unrelenting suffering, that there were moments of beauty and joy and human connection that made it bearable, that medieval people weren't miserable victims, but humans who found ways to be human, even in circumstances that seem inhuman. But the celebration ends. Of course it does. And the next day, you're back in the fields, and someone mentions winter, talks about preparations that need to be made, harvests that need to be brought in, food that needs to be preserved, and you realize, with creeping horror, that what you've experienced so far is summer, the easy season when food is relatively plentiful and the weather is warm and survival is merely difficult rather than impossible. Winter is coming, medieval winter, without central heating, without insulated buildings, without the food preservation technology that makes modern winter simply a change in weather rather than a months-long survival challenge. Medieval winter killed people regularly, the old, the weak, the unlucky, hypothermia, starvation, disease that thrived in weakened bodies. Winter was when death rates spiked, when communities lost members who'd survived every other hardship, but couldn't survive the cold and darkness and scarcity of the darkest months. And you're not ready. Your body, even after these few days of adaptation, is not prepared for medieval winter. You don't have enough body fat, don't have enough muscle mass, don't have the metabolic adaptations that allowed medieval people to survive on minimal calories in freezing conditions. The fear returns, sharp and cold, because you've been focusing on surviving day to day. But the real challenge is still coming, the challenge that will determine whether you live or die. Medieval people spent summer preparing for winter, preserving food, gathering firewood, making and repairing clothes. Every action oriented toward the coming crisis. And you've been so focused on just surviving the present that you haven't thought about the future, haven't made preparations, haven't done the work that might keep you alive when winter comes. This is the final lesson medieval life has to teach you, that survival isn't about the present moment. It's about cycles, about seasons, about understanding that ease and hardship alternate, and you have to use the easy times to prepare for the hard times. Modern life has lost this. We live in climate-controlled environments where seasons barely matter. We have food year-round. We've conquered winter, at least in developed nations, to the point where it's just another season rather than an existential threat. But medieval people never forgot. Couldn't forget, because forgetting meant death. Let's pause here. Take stock of who you are now versus who you were when you arrived. Your body is different, leaner, harder. Your hands are developing calluses where the blisters were. Your back is adjusting to the constant stooping and lifting. You're becoming physically adapted, though you'll never be as strong or resilient as people who've done this from childhood. Your mind is different, quieter, less abstract, more focused on immediate sensory experience and practical concerns. You're not contemplating or philosophizing or engaging in the kind of recursive self-reflection that characterizes modern consciousness. You're just surviving, and that's enough. Your values are different. You've stopped judging the violence and inequality and suffering around you because judgment requires mental energy you don't have. You've accepted that this is just how things are, that fighting against it, even mentally, is pointless. Your relationship with time is different. You no longer think in hours and minutes. You think in seasons and tasks, and the cycle of days marked by church bells. Time has become fluid again, natural, divorced from the precise measurements that structure modern life. Your social identity is different. You're no longer an individual with rights and dignity and autonomous existence. You're part of a collective, a member of a community whose survival depends on cooperation and conformity. And your sense of self is different, smaller, more contained, focused on immediate survival rather than long-term goals or abstract concepts of self-actualization and personal growth. This is what adaptation looks like. This is what it costs. You've survived, barely, for a few days. You've proven you can, with immense effort and suffering and loss of everything that made you who you were, exist in medieval times. But you're not the person who arrived. That person is gone, dead, replaced by someone harder and simpler and more suited to this world, but less recognizably human by modern standards. And here's the truth that cuts deepest. If you stayed here long enough, you'd forget. You'd forget what it was like to be your modern self. Forget the comforts and ideas and values that once defined you. You'd become fully medieval. And you wouldn't even mourn the loss because you wouldn't remember what you'd lost. This is how humans survive. We adapt, we change, we become whatever we need to be to continue existing. And in the process, we lose ourselves so completely that we don't even know we've lost anything. Night falls again. You lie on your pallet and a question surfaces in your mind. One you've been avoiding but can't ignore anymore. If you could go back, would you? If someone offered you an escape, a return to your modern life with all its comforts and conveniences and ease, would you take it? And the answer isn't as obvious as you'd expect, because going back means losing what you've gained here, the community, the simplicity, the sense of purpose that comes from working towards survival rather than abstract goals. Modern life is comfortable, but it's also isolating, anxiety-inducing, full of choices and possibilities that create paralysis rather than freedom. You have everything you need, but nothing you truly want. You're surrounded by people, but deeply alone. Here in medieval times, you have nothing, but you also have everything that matters. People who know you. Work that means survival. A place in a community that needs you. And you realize with something like shock that there are aspects of medieval life that are better than modern life. Not materially better, not in terms of comfort or health or longevity, but psychologically better, socially better, existentially better. This isn't Stockholm Syndrome or romanticizing suffering. It's a genuine recognition that modern life, for all its advantages, has costs. That we've gained comfort but lost connection. That we've gained freedom but lost belonging. That we've gained safety but lost meaning. And medieval people, for all their suffering, had things we've lost. They had certainty about their place in the world. They had communities that couldn't be left. They had work that obviously mattered. They had faith that gave suffering meaning. But here's what you also know. You couldn't choose to stay here, not really. Because knowing that another option exists, that comfort and medicine and ease are possible, makes medieval suffering harder to bear, not easier. Medieval people didn't know things could be different. And that knowledge makes you fundamentally unable to accept this life as natural or inevitable. So the question isn't whether you choose to stay. It's whether, knowing what you know now about both worlds, you can ever be fully comfortable in your modern life again. The next day brings another lesson, one you wish you could unlearn. You witness an execution, a thief caught stealing food, and the punishment is death, public death. The entire village gathered to watch, and it's brutal. More brutal than anything you've seen even in the goriest modern media. Because this is real. The screaming is real. The blood is real. The slow death is real, and everyone is watching. Children, old people, everyone. Because executions aren't hidden away. They're public spectacles, educational tools, warnings about what happens when you break the rules. Modern people can't watch this kind of violence. We've been raised on the idea that violence is aberrant, that death should be private and dignified, that suffering should be minimized and hidden. But medieval people watched because they had to, because public execution was how justice worked, how social order was maintained, how people learned what was acceptable and what wasn't. And you're watching. You can't look away, because looking away would mark you as weak, as overly sensitive, as someone who can't handle reality. So you watch a person die, slowly, painfully, and something inside you dies too. Some last remnant of your modern sensibility that believed in human rights and dignity and the value of every human life. because this person is dying for stealing food, for trying to survive, and no one questions whether this is just. No one suggests that maybe starvation is a worse crime than theft. No one operates from the assumption that human life has inherent value beyond its productivity. This is medieval justice. Harsh, unforgiving, proportional not to harm caused, but to social order maintained. And it works. Crime rates in medieval villages were actually quite low, not because people were more moral, but because consequences were immediate and severe. But the psychological cost of this system is immense. Living in a world where death is always one mistake away creates a different kind of consciousness, a wariness, a constant awareness of boundaries and rules and the consequences of crossing them. Modern people talk about living with anxiety, but our anxiety is abstract, diffuse, about potential futures and imagined scenarios. Medieval anxiety was concrete, about real, immediate threats, about the possibility that you'd be the next person being executed, or that someone you loved would be, or that you'd be forced to watch it happen and pretend it was justice. The execution ends. The body is left displayed as a warning, and everyone goes back to work, back to normal life, as if nothing happened, because to them, nothing did happen. This is just how the world works, how order is maintained, how society functions, and you're starting to understand that too, starting to accept it, not because you think it's right, but because thinking about whether it's right requires mental energy and emotional capacity you don't have anymore. You're becoming numb, desensitized, adapted to a level of violence and suffering that would have destroyed your modern self, but that your medieval self is learning to tolerate. And then, inevitably, you get sick. It starts with a stomach ache, mild at first, easy to ignore, but it gets worse. The cramping intensifies, your bowels turn liquid, and you're running to the privy every hour, then every few minutes, unable to hold anything in. Dysentery, the flux, the disease that killed more medieval people than warfare or famine or any single illness, caused by contaminated water or food or just the appalling sanitation conditions that characterized medieval life. And there's no treatment. The healer comes, looks at you, and gives you something to drink that tastes like dirt and death. She tells you to rest, to drink water if you can keep it down. And that's it. That's the entire medical intervention. You either survive or you don't, and plenty of people don't. Dehydration kills quickly, especially in bodies that are already malnourished and weakened by constant labor. You lie on your pallet, and you're too weak to even sit up. Your body is purging itself, emptying itself of everything, fluids, nutrients, energy, life, and you're alone. Because disease is scary to medieval people, not because they don't care, but because they know it can spread. That closeness to sick people can make you sick, so they keep their distance, bring you water and broth when they remember, but mostly leave you to fight this battle alone. Modern hospitals make dying a communal experience, surrounded by medical professionals, hooked up to machines, monitored constantly. There's something comforting in that, even as it's alienating. Medieval dying is solitary. You lie in the dark, in your own filth, and you wait to see if your body can fight off the infection or if this is how you end. And you think about everything you've been through, the adaptation, the suffering, the slow erosion of your modern self, and you wonder if it was worth it, if 3 days of survival in medieval times was worth what it cost you. The fever sets in, your thoughts become confused, You can't tell if hours are passing or days. Time loses meaning. Reality becomes fluid. You hallucinate, see things that aren't there, hear voices, and you don't know if this is delirium from the fever or if you're dying, and these are the final misfires of a brain shutting down. This is how medieval people died, not dramatically, not surrounded by loved ones speaking meaningful last words, just slowly, miserably, alone in the dark with disease eating away at them from the inside. And most didn't have modern consciousness to make it worse, didn't know that antibiotics could cure this, didn't understand that this death was unnecessary, preventable, a consequence of systems and technology that didn't exist yet but could exist, should exist, would exist if humans could just figure out a few key things, you know. And that knowledge makes dying worse, makes every moment of suffering feel like waste, like pointless tragedy, like something that shouldn't have to happen. Days pass, or maybe hours, you can't tell. The fever breaks, or maybe it doesn't. You're still here, still breathing, still existing. So probably the fever broke, you open your eyes, and the healer is there, looking at you with something that might be surprise. She says something you don't understand, but the tone is clear. You survived. Against odds that weren't in your favor, you survived. She helps you sit up, gives you broth. Weak, thin broth that your stomach barely tolerates, but you keep it down. Your body is starting to recover. And you realize something profound. You almost died. You were genuinely, actually close to death, and you survived through no particular virtue or effort on your part, just luck, random chance. The particular strain of bacteria that infected you happened to be one your immune system could fight off. Medieval people understood this, understood that survival was often just luck, that whether you lived or died from disease or injury or accident had little to do with your choices or morality or worthiness. It was just chance. Modern people have largely escaped this reality. We believe we control our health through diet and exercise and medical care. And to some extent, we do. But medieval people had no such illusion. They knew they were at the mercy of forces beyond their control. And this knowledge created a different relationship with mortality. Not fatalistic exactly, but realistic. Death wasn't a failure to be avoided through proper lifestyle choices. It was an inevitability that could come at any moment for reasons that had nothing to do with you. You lived through this episode of dysentery, but next time you might not. Or the time after that. Or you might survive the infections but die of the malnutrition, or an injury that gets infected, or violence, or any of the 1,000 ways medieval people died young, and you can't control it, can't prevent it, can't optimize your way out of it. You can only endure, survive day by day, and accept that eventually, probably sooner rather than later, something will kill you. This acceptance is both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying because it strips away the illusion of control. Liberating because it removes the burden of trying to control the uncontrollable. Modern people exhaust themselves trying to optimize everything: diet, exercise, sleep, stress management, preventive care, all in service of extending life and avoiding death. Medieval people just lived, did what needed to be done, accepted what came, and in some ways, that's easier, less anxious, more present. As you recover, something unexpected happens. People come to visit, bring you food, sit with you. And they're not doing it out of obligation. There's genuine care in their actions, genuine concern. The woman who shares your dwelling makes sure you have clean water. The man from the fields brings you a carved wooden spoon, a small luxury in a world where most people eat with their hands. A child leaves wildflowers by your pallet, and you're moved, deeply moved, because you didn't expect this, didn't think medieval people, with all their harshness and violence and struggle, had room for tenderness.